Hey everyone, and welcome back to LightHearted. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Britton. We're so excited to introduce you to our special guest today, but before we do that, make sure that you are subscribed and you turn your little notification bell on so that you never miss an update or episode information. Guys, before we dive into this episode, we just wanted to warn you in case you have little ears listening around you that this will be a heavy-hearted episode. We definitely cover some heavy topics, so I would just make sure this is a you watch it by yourself episode. Yeah. All right, let's get into it.
We are so excited that we have a special guest today. This is Hannah. She's a Christian, a wife, a mother to 3, and an influencer.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Hannah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Hannah, before we get started, where can people find you? Because I'm sure your journey is going to resonate with a lot of people. So where would you like people to follow you?
We have an Instagram page and a TikTok page, both called Hinzman Fam. So really easy. Hinzman. And then FAM.
Awesome. We'll make sure it's linked below too, so
Yes.
it's really easy for them to find you. But
Yeah.
she posts really good stuff, really cool updates. So yeah,
I don't know about really good
They are. She does. She posts really good stuff. Go follow her.
It's good content. Okay, Hannah, so we always ask our guests 3 questions. So I'm going to kick it off here with the first one. If you could go back in time and change something that you had control over, what would you change, or would you change anything?
I would change something, yes. When I highlighted my hair.
I love that.
Not just the one time where it went really badly, but I think I was like 11 when we started highlighting my hair. And I look back at pictures and I'm mortified, like, by how it looks. I'm like, I should have never done this. And a couple haircuts too. And I'm like, I know, like, in the moment, for at least a few of them, like, I genuinely liked them.
Yeah.
But there was one haircut that I hated. But it was like one of those moments where you don't want to tell the hairdresser, like, oh yeah, I really hate this. And it was a pixie cut, so you can't go back.
I remember that.
Yeah, I hated that one.
You rocked it.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't feel that way when I look back at pictures. I'm like, I look like a boy. So
It's so hard though, because with haircuts, you're like,
oh, you can't
It
do
is what
anything
it
about
is.
it. You just have to let it grow out. And I felt like it grew. Honestly, the initial haircut itself might not have been horrible, but the growing out process is what
yeah.
I hated.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Lord of the Beans, with the VeggieTale version of Lord of the Rings?
yes, yes,
The Bilbo bag, or the
it's like the
junior,
really jagged.
Yes, that's
like,
how I felt. That's how I felt with that haircut as it grew out.
We'll link that movie down below.
We'll link it off.
Just so you guys know what it looked like.
We'll link a pic of her with a pixie cut.
That's buried. But so yeah, so that's
really
That's
good
a
answer.
valid
That's
answer.
a
I
really
really
good
like
that's
that.
something I could change. Like, that's not just like something that happened to me. I chose this haircut.
Right, it's not gonna like impact who you are right
No,
now,
no.
other than you know
Maybe
you.
I won't have as much embarrassment.
No. I think it built a lot of character. Look at like I think it built character,
Well,
resilience.
maybe.
You know,
Yes.
if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Basically just not to let people walk all over me. Like, I think it's okay to not necessarily like defend yourself all the time, but I would just like let people say things to me, mean things. I had some toxic relationships that I just let continue because I didn't want to like upset them further. And I'm like, that was a stupid thing to do. Like, I should have just let them get upset and end the friendship. But yeah, that was something I struggled with a lot, especially in high school, was just to like let people walk all over me and just get over it. So
That's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's something that like every young person should hear though. Like, so like younger you too, but like
Oh,
every
yeah.
young person should hear that like you don't
Absolutely.
have to let people walk all
no,
over you.
I'm like, there's a way to do it in a kind way,
Yeah.
like like in a godly way. You don't have to be mean or rude, but you can cut things out of your life that are toxic. And that's something, it would have saved a lot of heartache and a lot of struggles if I would have done it earlier on, besides waiting until I was an adult to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, our last question is, if you could ask your future self one question, what would you ask?
So This one is very lighthearted and not serious at all. Do you think grocery prices go down? And the reason why I won't, I don't want to ask a serious question, I guess, is because, if it's something that I'm praying about, I don't want to ask myself, hey, does this prayer get answered? Because it's even though I trust in God, I feel like if the answer was, no, it hasn't been answered yet, it'd be a little discouraging. You're like, jeez, I've been praying for this forever already. And so I just don't feel like I would want to ask a real serious question. Yep. But I am curious if groceries or gas prices go down.
That's a good question.
You're like, hello?
I kind of love that.
Can I feed my family? Yes. All right. So, you are on social media.
Yes.
Is medically complex, is that like a okay term? You're a medically complex child?
Yeah.
So,
that would be a term that I would use.
Okay. So. Perfect. Okay. I was like, I don't know how to refer. Yeah. Okay. So he is complex. So did you start your social media journey to document
No.
that? Or, okay. So they're totally separate. It just happened.
It was around Christmas time or Thanksgiving when I first started. But I can't remember exactly what year it was. I'm I should know this.
It all runs together.
But it does. It all runs together. I believe, though, that it was because Sam was already born. And he wasn't walking. So it would have been 2020. So it was COVID.
Okay.
So I feel like everybody was kind of on social media more because, you're stuck at home.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I literally was just I found TikTok one day. And I don't remember how.
I feel like we all just ended up on TikTok
I was
somehow.
how did
I don't even remember putting it on my phone.
No, I don't remember downloading TikTok. I don't remember it. I'm how did I even did somebody's TikTok come across my Facebook page? Because I only had Facebook and Instagram at that time. And so I was did somebody's video talking about TikTok come across my Facebook or something? And that's when I decided to download it. I have no idea. But I literally was just oh, you know what? I'm going to post a cute video of the kids. I think they were helping us put up the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the first videos I put. And it literally, I was no one's ever going to see this. This is literally just more of a document for myself, to watch my kids grow up and record cute memories and be able to look back on them. And that was how, that's how we started. And that's why I didn't have any other reasons for it.
Yeah.
And then Instagram, I've just had since Instagram became a thing.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know when Instagram started, but I've had it since I was in high school. So if you go back all the way back on my Instagram, you're going to see some interesting things.
You'll see the pixie cut. I'm sure it's there.
I think it was later because I wasn't allowed to have social media until after I turned 13.
Okay, that's smart.
And the pixie cut, I believe, was 11. Praise the Lord.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Can we start? I would love to hear more about Lucas and about your journey with him. Yeah. And then kind of how social media has played into that for you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I would love, so you're the expert. I'm going to let you start. Tell us about Lucas, tell us about your life and
Well, Lucas is my 6-year-old. For those of you who don't know, he has a condition called hypophosphatasia, which is extremely rare. There's 4 different kinds of hypophosphatasia.
Okay.
And he has the infantile one, which is usually fatal. They don't usually make it past pregnancy. A lot of kids are stillborn coming out. Now, that was 6 years ago. So when he was born, the trial drug was only 5 years old at that point. So it was very new.
Yeah.
And so now, we're going on 11 years that there's been a injection for this. But at the time, that was very new.
Does it go to the mom or the baby when, if the baby is born?
See, I don't know now if it goes, how they do it. Or if it's just something that they have to wait until after the baby's born. Because we didn't know anything about, the condition until after he was born. We knew something was going on. But he was 7 days old when they figured out the condition.
Oh, dang.
And so I don't know now. I probably should study more up on it, but I'm not pregnant with them, so I don't think about knowing that. Most people don't find out that their kid has HPP until after they are born.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of kids, like his specific HPP is more rare than all the other ones. So usually like a kid will be born, and a lot of times it's not until they're like 1 or 2 that they get diagnosed, because it's so rare, but also like they don't start showing signs until then.
Interesting. Okay.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is like they'll lose their baby teeth really early. Like Lucas lost his first baby tooth when he was like 3 years old.
No way.
He's lost at least 3 already. And so, but so like for pretty much anyone with HPP, like that's one of the first signs is like early tooth loss and stuff. Like the adult HPP is more common, and so that just like it like slowly takes effect over the body basically. So like you'll start noticing like more joint pain and muscle pain and like weakness and like bone weakness, like start having more fractures and stuff like that. And because Lucas doesn't have the other ones, I'm not as familiar with them. But I know like it's later in life that they get diagnosed usually.
Wow. So because he was diagnosed like within a week.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, it was. And honestly, I mean, it was a God thing for sure. Like, everything about his life was a God thing. Because when he was, it was either the day, all of the days run together back in that time. But when he was either like a day old or 2 days old, the doctors actually came into my recovery room and told us to have our family come up to say goodbye, because they were like, we can't figure out what's going on, and there's you know, we can't do anything but keep him comfortable, like is what they told us. So it was a very raw, real time.
That's a nightmare.
It was. And it was like they came in one day, and it was just my husband and I in the room, and they told us, and we didn't tell anybody. We were like, we're gonna pray. We're gonna take a day, and we're just gonna pray about this.
Yeah.
And we're just going to process this. And basically, I mean, you're in shock. So like, we're just not gonna say anything to anybody about this because we need a minute. Yeah. And then the next day, they came back in, and they're like, like this is still like, we still can't find anything. And at that point, both sets of our parents were in the room.
So then it was like inevitable. Yeah, everyone was gonna find out at some point.
So really quick, like Lucas was your first child.
Yes.
And how old were you and Elijah at that time?
I was 20.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say, because Elijah and I got married at 19. I turned 20 the month after we got married. And so we had Lucas the week before our wedding anniversary, because he was 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
And so then I turned 21 the next month. But so I was 20 when I first gave birth.
Wow. That's so young to like, I feel like for anyone to be making medical decisions like that, like that's so hard. But for like a 20-year-old with your first baby, like that's a lot.
Oh, and it was definitely not something that I ever thought was going to be in my life, like having to make a decision like that.
Yeah.
Like I thought the first hard medical decision I'd ever have to make would be like my parents or something, like as when they were old.
Yeah.
And I just try not to dwell on things like that, because it's so like sad, and I try not to dwell on the sad things. Yeah. So, but it was just something I never expected to happen. And so I think I was 30 weeks when my OB first noticed something was wrong.
Okay.
And like looking back now, I could tell you, there was something going on like the first month I was pregnant, or like, I think I was 2 months pregnant. Like when complications kind of started, but it was my first pregnancy. I wasn't thinking, I was like, I don't know if this is
it's like,
normal.
what do you know? Like your doctors are supposed to tell you.
Yes. And I mean, I would ask my doctor, I'm like, hey, like this is going on, is that normal? And they're like, it can be. It can be normal. Like a lot of people have random things that happen when they're pregnant, and so it's like hard to know if it's like something serious or just a normal thing of pregnancy.
Yeah. So you're at 30 weeks, and they, like, what was their like big clue in it? They're like, oh, okay, like.
So we did our anatomy scan. When you do an ultrasound, the bones are supposed to show up pretty brightly, and you could barely see his. And so they were like, we're going to send you to a specialist. Have them do like a more extensive ultrasound to see if it, you know, is it just the way he's positioned, you know. And also a lot of his bones that you could see were very short compared to like what they should be at that gestation. At this point, we were still like, oh yeah, like nothing's wrong. He's just positioned weird, like not really freaking out or anything. And we went up there and they did the ultrasound. And then I remember they brought me to like a separate room for the doctor to come and talk to us and stuff. And like the doctor came in and like when he walked in, I knew. I was like, oh, this is serious. Like this is not, like it's not okay. Like it, you know, it's like it was going to be okay. But in that moment, you're like, this isn't okay. Like something's wrong.
Yeah.
To anybody watching this, I smile when I talk about hard things sometimes because if I don't, I will cry.
Yeah.
And it's just like a mechanism. Like I smile because I also think about like where we are now. And so it's like that was hard and that's a hard thing. But like look where we are now. And I try to dwell on that more.
Yeah.
But also like the more I talk about Lucas's story, the like easier it is to talk about. So it's not because I'm just a heartless person.
We laugh. It's okay. You're good.
Like we like laugh through our tears. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, really quick before we jump back into your ultrasound and all of that, can you quickly explain what hypophosphatasia is for anyone who doesn't know?
Yes, absolutely. Hypophosphatasia, there's another name for it is soft bone. And so one of the genes is missing. I don't know the name of it. It's a weird name. But one of the genes is missing in his body. And so he doesn't produce like the calcium, like to calcify his bones. And it causes bones to be short and like, for him, they were like Jell-O. Like he looked, I love him. He looked like a little octopus. There was just no hardness to them to like keep them, like to keep his arm in place and stuff. So yeah, so it's just like soft bones, short bones. It can cause several different issues. And again, it depends on the type of HPP that it is as well. But for the most part, like it just, everyone has short bones, soft bones, and even like once they're like, if they don't have soft bones, they break easily and fracture easily. I guess just hypophosphatasia is soft bones, short bones, and like prone to fractures because they're missing an enzyme.
And so
an
does
enzyme,
that
not a gene.
does that
like, that doesn't sound
does that come from like the parents, or do you know?
So Elijah and I have never gotten tested to find out if either of us have the gene. They say it's genetic, and so like the doctors say one of us has to have it, but neither one of us have ever gone to get tested, which a lot of people might disagree with. But it was one of the things where we just decided to leave that up to God, and we didn't need to know. So we were like, well, because I've seen a lot of times in the medical community where a kid will have a genetic condition and the parents will go get tested and one of the parents has the gene and the other one doesn't. And then there's almost like a hatred, resentment towards the one that has it because you're like, oh, you're the reason our child is like this. And not that I don't think that I would ever feel that way towards my husband or that he would feel that way towards me. But it's one of those things where like, we're just not even going to test that. We're not even going to try to, you know, put that temptation for the devil to mess with us.
Because like, would it change the course of life right now? Like,
exactly. It wouldn't change anything.
I
mean, with our other two children, we were like, you know, we're going to trust God that they're not going to have this too. Like, we break this, whether it's genetic or just random, we're going to break that curse, and it's not going to affect any of our other children. So we don't need to know. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to automatically make him whole. He's still going to have the condition, so I don't need to know. So I'm like, and that was just our choice, and like other people, like that's completely fine if they want to find out, but we didn't.
I think your reasoning makes sense though too, because I think if it would like massively change things for future kids, or I could maybe see it, but like it there's nothing you can do.
It's like, just knowing.
It's just knowing.
And the thing is, even if one of us does have it, like there's possibilities that none of your other children could ever have it. Like no one knows. And so I'm like, you know what? I would rather just leave that to God because he's he's all-knowing, so he's gonna know.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll also link, if I can find some like good
Oh yeah,
articles or anything on hypophosphatasia, I'll link that in the show notes.
I said I can also send you like
Yeah.
the ones that I
Yeah,
like.
that'd be great.
We would love that.
Yeah.
Send them to us. We'll put everything in the show notes for you guys to read so you can understand it better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong. We are titling this episode When Hope Seems Lost. Is that?
Yeah.
If we can kind of jump ahead just a little bit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there were a few moments, but like, can you talk about the moments where it was like, it's gone, like all hope is lost? What are we gonna do? Because if hope seems lost, then that means like you lost your hope, and then at some point it came back. So I would love to hear about that process.
I think honestly, the day that we did his baby dedication in the NICU room was the day where I just felt like defeated.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, I don't know where to go from here. All of our families here, or that could get there, and were like hugging us and saying, we're so sorry. And like I know like all of them had the best intentions, but it was just like hearing that like we're so sorry and everything. And he was still there, and so it was just like that was just hard because it was like, okay, he's still here, but like it felt like everyone had lost hope, I guess.
Yeah.
And even if they hadn't, it felt that way. And so that's when I just like remember feeling the most like defeated. Mm-hmm. I was just like, okay, like this is it. Like it's over. Like, I was like, I don't know how we're going to like get past this. Like, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And thankfully, my hope was restored like that night. And it was actually like through a dream. And I just like woke up and I remember being like thank you God, like I know that was from you. And it just like I woke up with a peace. And it was crazy to it was crazy to me at the time, especially because I was just like, how can I have so much peace in this moment? Because the doctors didn't have any information for us. I mean, we had a baby dedication, so everyone could say goodbye.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I woke up thankful, but also really confused because I was just like, how do I have peace right now? Like, and hope restored. But I mean, I prayed for it, so I shouldn't have been surprised that, God answered that prayer. And I just remember after that dream I had like just a new perspective, I guess. And I knew that even if Lucas did pass away, that God was going to get us through it.
Yeah.
And so I had that peace and comfort from a dream. And that was random because I just I had never really, I don't remember ever having a dream before that moment where I was like, oh, this is from God. I had some stupid dreams and I'm like, whoa. But I never had a dream where I like really felt like God was speaking to me during a dream. And that one I like woke up knowing. I was like, oh, that was from God. And it was just, his way of telling me to keep having faith and that he was in control and he was going to get us through whatever happened. Yeah. And it wasn't like in that dream he didn't tell me that Lucas was going to be healed. He didn't tell me he was going to make it. He just told me that he had me and was watching over me, and that I knew that Elijah and I would make it through whatever.
Yeah. Wow, I think that's so cool. I also think it's cool, like, I feel the same way as you, where it's like it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, like that was very clearly God. Like, I'll have good feelings, but to be like, no, like he was just speaking to me just now. Yeah. But I feel like in times where like I'm like no, like I need an answer. I need to feel like I'm okay. Then he makes it so much clearer. Yeah. Where he's like, no, like this is unmistakably coming from me. I've got you. We'll figure it out. Like, absolutely. I just think that's like the coolest thing ever that you experienced that. Like. He's so good.
He is. He is.
That's awesome.
It was such a hard time, even with that peace. Like, I think a lot of people think that if you get peace, you're automatically like happy, full of joy. Yeah. That's not it at all. Like, I had peace knowing that God was going to get me through everything, but I was still emotionally distraught.
Yeah.
Like, I cried, like, probably every day for a while.
Yeah.
And our total NICU stay was 161 or 165 days, I think, was our total stay.
Half a year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
That's a long time.
it was. And
You were there every day.
yeah. Well, there was one day that I wasn't there.
Oh, you missed one day? You missed one single day.
Yeah.
In
That's
160 something days. That's insane. With this whole NICU stay and everything,
Yes.
like that's a long time.
It was, yeah.
So, were there moments when strangers or even just unexpected people really, really showed up for you?
Yes, actually.
Tell me everything.
I might cry with this one. So we had been there. I mean, I was recovering for a couple days, and then a couple days we stayed at a hotel nearby. Once they did tell us, like, hey, we figured out what this was. I also forgot to mention how they figured that out. We can go back to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Once they figured out what it was, and they were like giving him the injection and stuff, and there was like a slimmer of hope that he was going to get better, we realized it's going to be a really long stay. Like, even if he does get to get out of the hospital eventually, it's going to be a long stay. And so we were like trying to figure out what to do about that logistically. Like, how do I stay here? Because Elijah had to go back to work. I mean, unfortunately, it sucks, but the bills don't stop coming, even though you're in the hospital. And that really sucks. But so we knew he was going to have to go back to work. But I knew that I would not physically be able to survive if I was an hour and a half to 2 hours away from Lucas and barely being able to get to see him. Like, I knew that I needed to stay with him.
Yeah.
And so my cousins had their church praying about this whole situation. And this wonderful couple who had never met us before and never heard about us, I don't think, until that moment, went up to my cousin and told her, they were like, hey, we have extra rooms in our house for them to stay while he's in the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
And I had never met them in my life. I'd never seen them. And I remember, like, when my mom told me, because my mom was talking to my cousin more than me, because I wasn't talking to people a lot at that time.
That's fair.
And so my mom was like, hey, like, Katie said that there's this couple in their church that wants to be a host home for you while you're here. And not only that, but they housed my mom and my mother-in-law while they were, because they took turns being up there with me. So my mom would stay for a week, and then she'd go home and on the weekends, and Elijah would come up on Saturday and Sunday, and then my mother-in-law would come up on Sunday to stay with me through the week. And they took turns for 2 to 3 months until I was like allowed to drive again. Because of the C-section, I wasn't allowed to drive. So yeah, they were just a random couple that had never knew me. I never knew them, and they said that they just knew that that's what God wanted them to do. So I lived with this couple for 6 months.
That's amazing.
And you know how you meet people in life and you're like, this is like in the Bible when it says to be like Christ, this is what it means. And they're those people for me. I'm like, they didn't have to open their home. They didn't know us, but they did. And not only them, but their family welcomed us. I mean, we went to random birthday parties with their families.
That's awesome.
And
I think you guys are family now.
Yes, we're family now.
So cool.
And they just like, they opened their home and they welcomed us. And there was a little more lighthearted. There was a few nights where I would get home from the NICU. Her name was Mary Ellen and his name was Charlie. And Charlie was like, hey, Hannah, I'm running to Wendy's. Do you want a Frosty? And I'm like, yes, I would love a Frosty. Thank you.
He's like your other dad now.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so awesome.
It was so amazing just be like a stranger just to do so much. And I mean, they blessed us so much. There was one day I was on my way from home. I think I had went home to meet with some medical company or something. But I was on my way back, and all of a sudden, I was like, this car is shaking uncontrollably. And I was like, what is going on? So I pulled over to the side of the road, and there was like a gouge in the tire so big that it should have popped and I should have wrecked. Like, it was just God's grace that I made it to the gas station. Because I'm like, it's probably nothing. Like, just in denial.
I'm just a girl driving down the road.
It's all good. But then, like, all of a sudden, like, the steering was veering to the right. And I was like, I can't, like, hardly hold
That's
it.
not awesome.
And I was like, okay, this isn't great. So I pulled over, and so we ended up calling a tow truck. And this couple, they run several different things. They have a couple different businesses, and then they farm and stuff too. But they have a tire business.
Of course they
Why not? And so he was like, hey, just tow it to our shop. And he put 2 brand new tires on the front of our car and didn't charge us.
What an angel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're
They're literally angels.
That's amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And these are little stories that I didn't tell, like, a lot of people at the time, but it's just, like, as I talk about a story, I'm like, oh, yeah, this happened too. And it's not because I wasn't appreciative of it back then. It was just because of everything I was going through.
Right.
My mind was really focused.
Yeah.
The nurses were so great in the NICU, and there was one nurse, every time she would go to get a Starbucks and I was there, she would ask me if I wanted one, because they have one in the hospital. So she'd be like, do you want a Starbucks? And I was like, thank you, yes. Or sometimes I'd be like, no, I'm good. And so then I started, if I went to Starbucks, I'd be like, hey, you want a Starbucks? And we just, like, genuinely became friends with a lot of the NICU nurses. And we had, like, a group that was pretty consistently ours. And so I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook now.
Cute.
And so they're able to, like,
that.
keep up with Lucas and see where he's at and stuff. And I'm friends with a couple of the doctors that we had too. I do remember there was a sweet moment. I would always shut the curtain whenever I was pumping and stuff by his bedside. And so I was just back there, and I would just sing to him while I pumped. I don't know if it's because I was awkward and I was like, I got to do something, like, while I'm back here.
Yeah.
And so I would just sing to him. And I remember one day I opened the curtain back up, and there was a grandma sitting with her grandson, and she was like, I just want you to know that I love that you sing to your baby, because my grandson gets to hear that too. Aww. And it was always songs about Jesus. And so she's like, I love that you're filling the kids, like, in this room with songs about Jesus.
That's so
and I was
cool.
like,
That's
thank
adorable.
you.
That's the best.
I feel like
this whole thing makes me want to cry.
I'm like, I feel like we could just talk to you all day long. Like, this could go on forever.
Yeah. I was like, there's lots of random stories.
There's a lot of random stories, and I love it.
165 days worth.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So how did you, like, who finally figured out what was going on? Who finally was able to give you some answers? Like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so like I said, the doctors knew something was going on,
Yeah.
but they gave us, like, a list of possibilities, and before he was born and even after. After he was born, they were like, well, we've checked all of these off our list, that it's not those. And so, like, that's almost, like, worse, because you're just like, oh, I was hoping, like, I obviously didn't want anything to be wrong with him, but I was like, I was hoping it was one of those so we at least have an answer.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was like the 7th day that we were there, I think. It was I believe it was the day after his baby dedication, like the day after I had my dream.
Yeah.
I got a phone call from the doctor that was on his case at that time, and she was like, hey, like, can you and your husband come in for a meeting with, you know, me and a couple other doctors? And I was, like, a little confused, because I was like, well, we already know, like, that he's not, you know, you don't think he's gonna make it and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know why they want to meet with us. And so we come in, and they're like, so we've figured out what your son has. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, yeah, it's really crazy, because we were talking about his case, and obviously for HIPAA, I, like, don't go into super big detail with people who aren't on his case, but they were just, like, kind of talking about, like, how it was weird. They've never seen anything like it and stuff. And they said a nurse was walking by and heard them talking about it, and she was like, okay, wait, what's going on with him? And they, like, explained it to her, and she was like, that sounds just like a case that I worked on in Pittsburgh. And it was like,
That's amazing.
this little girl, and I don't know her age difference with Lucas. I want to say I think she was like one of the first kids to receive the trial drug. Like, I think it was like she was the trial.
Whoa.
And this
I have, like,
nurse
chills all over my whole body. That's so
this
cool.
nurse was her nurse. and like took care of her. And she was not Lucas's nurse. She was just a random nurse walking by that heard it and was like, oh, that sounds like something I've,
familiar,
yeah. And so she told them what it was, and then they ran the test, and that's what it was. And it was hypophosphatasia.
That's
Which
God.
again was, I mean, especially when he was born, was
Insane.
usually fatal. Like, kids usually didn't make it. Like, it was usually they were stillborn. And honestly, when they were stillborn, a lot of them wouldn't know why. Like, they didn't know that their kid had hypophosphatasia because they didn't know to test for it. So they're just like, we don't know why your baby was stillborn, but yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like it was God. People say, oh, that's just random, it's a coincidence. It was God. I mean, you can't ever convince me that it wasn't God that had that nurse walk in that time. And then to know, like, hey, I've dealt with this, like, I've helped a kid with this before. And so I think he was like 7 or 8 days old when they gave him his first injection of the medicine to replace the enzyme that he didn't have. So,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
And it was like, even to this day, I'm still like blown away. Like, that's how we figured out what he had, was a nurse that wasn't even his took care of one child. And like no one in that hospital had ever heard of hypophosphatasia except for this nurse. Like,
she just happened to be there.
Yeah, she just happened to be there that night while they were talking about it on night shift. And I mean, they had to do so much research, and back then there wasn't even as much research because, like I said, it was fatal, so they didn't really have much to go on, which is like a little bit of a struggle now, is because like there is information out there and a lot more than there was, but it's hard because a lot of kids with Lucas's type aren't here. So like he is like one of the ones with this type of hypophosphatasia that's still alive and making it.
That's amazing. Wow.
It's just a miracle.
That's a miracle.
It is.
Oh my gosh. So she was just like a perfect stranger.
Yes.
Walking by.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing your case.
Yes. Okay.
Do you feel like your life's always about Lucas? Like when people like with social media and everything, like everyone's just
yeah, honestly, and not to get too deep, but and a lot of people probably won't understand unless they've like gone through medical needs with their kid, but it was almost to the point like where everyone refers to me as Lucas's mom and like is constantly talking about Lucas, to where I get frustrated, not with Lucas but with them, because I'm like, that's part of me but not the only part. Like I am Hannah first, like a daughter of God, and then I am a mom, or a wife and a mom, and so I'm like, I love that you care about Lucas so much, but like I can't lose my identity through this,
right?
And I mean, there was definitely a lot of like dark times because of that, because a lot of people were there for Lucas and stuff, and like after we got home, like a lot of people would be like, how's Lucas doing and everything, and there was very few that was like, how are you doing? There was some moments where it was like, okay, like no one cares about how I'm doing. I know most of their hearts, and I know that they're not purposefully like against me.
No.
They just are like, Lucas was the one that was sick. He was the one that, back when he was in the NICU, we didn't know if he was going to make it. Whenever he's been in the hospital since, it was like this, he's struggling with sickness, illness. And so, yes, I'm like, yes, we are so excited he's out of the hospital. Yeah. Like, yes, let's celebrate what God has done. And I will say, like, my cousin's church that we went to a few times while we were in the NICU and stuff were, like, very welcoming. And they did, like, every Sunday when Elijah and I were there, they'd be like, we're so, happy to have Hannah and Elijah here with us today.
That's awesome.
And they even, once Lucas got out of the hospital, they actually asked us if we would come back to like show all the people like that had been praying for him, like, hey, look, we're out of the hospital and here he is and everything. And like I said, there was several people who did reach out to me and was like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
It was just like in a sea of everybody like thinking of Lucas and stuff, that I just felt like I wasn't checked on as much.
Yeah.
And then also, you're going through postpartum, so like things are going to look different even if they're not. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Like your hormones are
Yes.
crazy. I will say that I don't know that I really struggled with postpartum depression with Lucas because I was in survival mode for him. There was depressing days, if that makes sense, but like overall, I was like, I don't have time to be sad about myself. I don't have time for my feelings because like I've got to be strong for him. I've got to be there for him. And I like that didn't mean I didn't cry or anything, but it was just like I didn't have time to be depressed with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after I had my second son that I think all of it hit. Like I finally was like, because they're only 15 months apart.
That's amazing.
Fun fact, we got pregnant the week we came home from the NICU.
I'm gonna get really invasive here. Were you planning that, or was like
No. So yeah, so when we got home from the NICU,
So cool.
like we knew that we were home now. Like he was doing great.
Yeah.
And we were just like, who cares if we get pregnant again? Yeah. And we did.
That's awesome. I think sometimes like God like forces our hand a little bit too, where it's like,
oh yeah.
like yeah, like you can handle this. Here's
Yes,
your next kid.
absolutely.
Like,
and I will say a lot of parents like will either never have any more kids or they
Yeah.
will wait a long time to have more kids because of the fear and anxiety and everything that goes in with it. And it was just, I'm very thankful that like I did not have fear and anxiety. Like I got pregnant with Sam and I was like, Sam's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like my family had more fear and anxiety for me than I did myself. I was like,
That's amazing.
He's gonna be good. And like we had the anatomy scan and I could see, because I knew what it looked like with Lucas, and I could see on the screen, I'm like, look at those bones shining, like he's good, he's great.
good.
And he was, and he did well. And then with my daughter, so Sam and Lucas were both C-sections. And then with Raylan, I went to my regular OB until I was 20 weeks, and she did the anatomy scan, and I was like, everything looks great. And then I decided to go with a midwife and have a home birth.
How was that?
I didn't get to have a home birth because she wouldn't come. I was 42
Raylan.
weeks. I was 42 weeks in a day, and decided to
Bless you.
decided
Oh
to
my
be
God.
induced.
Yeah. Did you have?
Wow.
I did have
You
a
had-
vaginal birth.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, and it was like one of the best experiences like I've ever had. And I mean, like I said, I had so much peace and everything through both of my pregnancies after Lucas, and I knew that everything was going to be good. I was like, I don't have fear. Like that's not going to have a hold of me. And I was like, my kids are healthy and whole and everything's going to go well. And it was such a different experience having a vaginal birth versus a C-section.
So talking about like everyone focusing on Lucas
Yes.
and then all your other kids,
Yes.
how is it like being a mom and like, because I'm sure it's hard to balance the fact like everyone's focused on Lucas, but you have 2 other children.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So like, what is that like for you to?
So, definitely my mama bear comes out a lot, and like I know people have good intentions, but when I see like Sam or Ray being like not focused on it as much, I get very defensive, and I'm like, I've got 3 children.
Yeah.
Like Lucas is a miracle, and I'm very thankful for him, and like he definitely touches a lot of people with his story and just his personality. I mean, the kid's crazy. Like he's happy most of the time and stuff, and like I know a lot of people like resonate with that, but I'm like, I have 3 children with wonderful personalities who are crazy in their own way, and so I do my best as a mom to make sure that they, from me, feel just as loved as Lucas is. And then because I'm like, I can't control other people, I can't control how they feel or think or what they do, so I can, you know, nudge them and be like, hey, like I have 3 kids, they're all great.
Yeah.
But I just have to know that like me and Elijah make sure that they feel just as loved and as important as Lucas is, because they are.
Yeah.
So
That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
I love it.
Okay, I have like a mom question.
Yes.
Kind of. Okay. So, all right. I'm good with like service animals, right? Like I know how to talk about that with my son. He's a curious 6-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I can be like, oh, that's a working dog. We don't
Yes.
talk to working dogs. How do you like, kids are gonna stare and kids have questions.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
do you like when people come up and ask questions, or do you like what do you like moms to say about things? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's happened several times.
yeah,
so.
like, but I don't want to be awkward, but I also don't want to be like,
Yeah.
hey, it's your job to come and educate my kid about this.
Yes.
But I also am like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's the thing. Like, a lot of adults don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are they supposed to educate their kid on like all these different subjects when they don't even know about them themselves? And no, we love when kids ask questions and are curious. I think the biggest thing is like for kids who are young,
yeah,
they're not going to know whether to say like, hey, what is that medical device in your kid's neck? Like, they're going to be like, what's wrong with him? And it is something I have to remind myself, they're a kid, like they are genuinely like just curious. Because like in my head I'm like, nothing's wrong with him, like
excuse you.
he's got some things going on, but nothing's wrong. But so I like have to like check myself. But no, I would rather kids ask us the questions, and so that way they can be educated, and even parents like asking us questions so they can be educated, than to just look at him like he's an alien or something. I don't know.
Like, what's going on over there?
Like, I would rather people not
that.
point and stare and talk, like whisper to each other. I would rather them just like come and ask, and for their kids to come and ask. The only thing that I always say is I'm just like, I want parents to teach their kids to be respectful.
Love that. Mm-hmm.
Which, like I said, at a certain age, the kid's not going to know anybody. You can be like, hey, like, don't be pointing, don't be like saying what's wrong. But like I know my 5-year-old or almost 5-year-old Sam, he is very just like blunt. He's like, what is that?
He's like, what's going on?
Yeah. And so I'm like, I can't be upset with that because they're innocent. Like, they're just curious. But I'm like, when they get to be, like a teenager or an adult, I'm like, how to respectfully ask questions.
Yeah.
And how to, be respectful with it. And so I'm like, just start, like, even though you're obviously not going to get your 5 and 6-year-old to necessarily say the correct things, you can start at that age. So that way, as they get older, like, they know how to eventually, like, ask things more respectfully and stuff. Because if a teenager comes up to me and is like, what's wrong with your kid? I definitely get defensive.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And I am guilty. I have done that. I have let my flesh take over in my mom defensive mode, and I have been like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, that is not the response I should have as a Christian. Like, I'm like, and also like, I do want to educate people, and I know that people are genuinely curious. It's just when you come at it with a disrespectful tone, I don't know that you're genuine about your question.
Yes.
I'm like, are you genuinely like ignorant to this situation, so you want to educate yourself, or are you just being rude and mean?
Yeah.
Because I've had both. And so
totally.
it also depends on the day and my mood.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where I will sit down and be smiling and have a great conversation with a little kid, and obviously talk to them in a way that they'll semi-understand, because I'm like, obviously I can't, like, you're not going to understand certain lingo. And then there's other days where I'm like going through it. He's been sick. I'm stressed. Where I'm just like, this is just how he was born, and like, ignore and like walk away from them or whatever, because I'm just like not in the headspace to talk about it. But I try to always just be like,
that's awesome,
kind and respectful, and like, know that they're just kids and they just want to know things.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I'm just never like, I'm never sure, and like I feel like I'm very mood dependent too, where it's like, how much time am I going to spend with you? I don't know.
Yes,
like,
yeah,
we're going to find out together. Yes, I love that. That's awesome.
So obviously you walked through like a lot of hard things when having Lucas. Do you feel like there was something in your life before that that kind of like prepared you for that time of your life? Like hard seasons or anything that you walked through that was like, oh, this is why I went through that, or this built resilience in me to be able to face this?
Yes, I mean, I definitely can think of a few things. So yeah, obviously I'm a Christian, so I've grown up in church my whole life. And so, like, obviously, like, I've gone through things here and there. But a big thing is my grandma, who was my best friend, passed away when I was 12. And it was a very sudden thing. It was like there was no leading up to it. It was just like all of a sudden we got a phone call, something had happened, she was gone. And that kind of like set a thing in motion in my life where I just like didn't deal with things the way I should have and didn't like process things the way that I should have. And I kind of just like pushed it out almost. Like I was just like, I cried over it, but it was just like, you know, whatever. Which kind of led to different moments throughout my high school year where I dealt with like depression and stuff. And then I think I was like 15 or 16. I started having like thoughts of suicide, not necessarily planning it, but just thoughts of it. And I opened up to a person who was someone I thought I could trust. And when I told them about it, they told me I was selfish for ever contemplating suicide. And because of that interaction, I stopped opening up to people and kind of just shut, like, okay, no one wants to hear about what I'm going through. I'm obviously, you know, I'm just a selfish person and like I shouldn't be having these feelings and stuff, so something's just wrong with me, I guess. I think what I did is I just kind of kept burying things and just didn't deal with it. And so like I would go hang out with friends and be happy and go to church, and I did youth group. I did our worship team at youth group and stuff, and you know, I sang and worshiped, and I had moments with God. It wasn't like I was just like completely shut off, but it was just like instead of dealing with a lot of things, I just kept burying them, and I would deal with other things here and there, but like the deep stuff, I just let it keep building.
Yeah.
And so I graduated a year early from high school and went to college out in Oklahoma. And while I was there, it was a Bible college, but a lot of people think that means everyone's saved, and they're not. Like, a lot of them aren't. They're just, you know, there to get some credits before they move on to a different school or whatever. And so I was there and, you know, growing in my walk with God, but at the same time still not dealing with a lot of things from my past. And there was just things that happened, things that people like would say to me. Most of it was like behind my back that I would see in a text message. And some things were to my face, but played off as like joking, but I'm like, it hurt still. And I think a lot of it was because I hadn't dealt with things. So I had a lot of like self-esteem issues. And again, with the whole having toxic people in my youth where I just let them walk all over me. And so I was like, well, yep, I'm just going to let them speak to me that way. And there was a night where it just, everything, I don't know, just came crashing down. There was just something was said again behind my back, and I saw the messages, and I was just like, I can't take this anymore. And that was the first time that I actually planned out my suicide. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't want to leave. I have family and friends that I know love me, but I also just don't know how to deal with this. Like, I don't know how to stop feeling this way. Like, I've prayed and I just feel like it's not helped. But I know I never fully surrendered it to God. It was just like a surface prayer, I guess. Like, I was just like, God, help this go away. And it wasn't like having that deep realness with God. I think that I felt that I had to be strong for God, like he didn't see everything that was going on. And I was just like, God has more important things to do than, you know, deal with my hormones, is like basically what I like kept chalking it up to. But that night I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I went into my dorm closet because I didn't want to wake up my roommate. And I just remember sobbing on the floor. And I was like, God, like, this is it. You either have to, like, show up or I'm done. Like, I was done. I didn't know what else to do. And I wasn't even like saying a intense prayer. I was just like, God, like, if you're there, show me. And in that moment, I physically felt a presence behind me wrap their arms around me. And there was no audible, like, hey, I'm here, but I could feel it. And I just felt like I was, like, cradled in the arms of God. And I immediately, like, just sobbed uncontrollably and knew that he was there. And I remember waking up in the closet. Like, I don't know whether I just fell asleep or passed out or, like, went to the throne room. I don't know. But I just remember waking up. And when I woke up, I had never felt the lightness in my chest, like, in my heart than I did in that moment. Like, I woke up and it was gone. Like, I didn't want to kill myself anymore. I didn't have a plan to do it. I knew that it was over. Like, that feeling was gone. And nothing in my life had changed. Like, those people were still talking about me the way that they were talking about me. And, you know, there hadn't been apologies or anything, but I knew that God was on my side and that it didn't matter what anybody else said. What mattered was what he said about me. And he calls me chosen and loved and worthy. And his is the only opinion that I need. And, so in that moment, like, my faith just grew, and I knew that if I could go through that, I could go through pretty much anything.
That's amazing.
And so, yeah, when it got to Lucas, like, there was moments of, you know, that hopelessness, and I was like, what are we going to do? But after I had that dream and, you know, God reminded me that he was there, I just felt my faith increase and my hope increase. And I was like, you know what? Yes. Like, I've been through hard things and God has always got me through them. I mean, I was ready to leave the earth and God got me through that. So he can get me through anything. Yeah. So I think that's really, like, what set up my foundation for being able to go through that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm so sorry that you went through that. First of all,
Thank you.
Because, like, that's the worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
But the fact that, like, I think the fact that you still knew who to rely on.
Yes, absolutely.
And you weren't afraid to ask for some comfort.
Yeah.
And then it came.
Oh, yeah. Like, for the first time was just real. I feel like real with God about all of my feelings.
Yeah.
I was like, he could handle it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, God, if you can handle it, then here it is. And, like, was just real. And he met me where I was.
Yeah.
And, like, there was no, like, shame or condemnation like there had been previously.
Yeah.
It was, like, I didn't feel any shame or guilt for it. Like, it was like, hey, this happened. It sucked. It was real. But I'm going to bring you to a better place.
Yeah.
And a place where I hope that, like, my story helps other people who are going through similar things, because it is real. And unfortunately, suicide has a high rate in our country, in our world.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know other people go through things and we all have a different reason for getting there sometimes, but in the end, God is the one that can get you through it. And he did for me.
That's amazing. I think, like you said, like, God already knows anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting that, like, with all things, we just kind of, like, try and hide it, and then we, like, try and do these good prayers, and it's like, no, but, like, he knows our heart anyway, so might as well
he doesn't want a good prayer. He wants you to be honest with him, and he wants you to ask the hard things and say the hard things. Like, God's not, like, he's not going to be mad at you for being real with him and just saying what's on your heart and, like, being like, God, this really sucks. I really hate this. I'm frustrated, I'm angry. I don't even know who or what I'm angry at necessarily, but I know that I'm angry and frustrated, and he's like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's all right.
Thank you for being willing to share that, because
Yes,
I feel like that's such a tough subject. Yeah, that's
For
so
sure.
hard. And then like just to like go back to what you guys were just saying, like when you were saying like not to keep it surface level.
Yeah.
I love listening to other people's stories because it calls me out on things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So when you were saying that, I was like, holy crap, anytime I'm struggling with something, I 100% keep it so surface level where
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, just praying for the usual here.
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
help us sleep really good tonight. And
Yeah.
like, help me to be ready to do all these things tomorrow.
Yes,
and like, I
exactly,
keep
yeah.
it so surface level.
yeah.
Yeah, even though it's like, oh no, like my heart is like
Crushed. It's
like
breaking,
crushed
it's-
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, there's a reason why the Bible tells us to share our testimonies, because they're supposed to help others. Like, God wants us to use what we've gone through and what he's brought us through to share with others. Like, because all the glory goes to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he turns like what the devil meant to harm us for his good and his glory. And so if we keep it to ourselves, then like it's not helping anybody. So
love
that's
that.
like, we're supposed to share it. And even when it is hard and vulnerable, I think those are almost even better.
So moving into our next little part here, this question has two parts to
Okay.
it. So what is something someone said that really helped you when you felt hopeless? And this can be at any point in your life. And then part two of the question is, what's something that someone said that they definitely should not have said and should never say to another human being ever again?
I think a lot of things are like, again, I think most people have the best intentions. But a lot of times, like, they were just like, well, you know, God just wanted him this way. This is like, you know, like, this is how God made him. And I'm like, actually, this is because of sin in the world. Like, I mean, I think God has a plan for his life, but I don't believe that God puts sickness and disease on people. I don't know. And that might be a hot take. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. That's God. But I personally don't think that God is like, yeah, I'm going to give your kid cancer so that you can learn how to be stronger. I don't think that's how it is. I think because there's sin in the world and there's sickness in the world, that kids get sick, and God goes, I know that this is horrible and your kid is going through this, but I'm going to use it for your good and to give glory, you know. And so he if as long as we allow him, he makes us stronger through those things. But yeah, so people just making those comments. Oh, I know. Yes. Okay. So Lucas, I don't even know, he was probably a month old. We're in the NICU, and one of the genetic doctors had come by. At this point, they were like, yeah, like, it'd be good for you and your husband to be tested, you know, to see, like, if one of you have the gene or whatever, or the strain or whatever. And she was like, but now you know, like, this is a possibility, so you can abort any other babies that would have this. And like, she said it
old,
like just like that, like at his bedside. Like, Lucas is actively like in bed, like on breathing tubes, like
trying to heal,
trying to thrive in life. And she's like, I'm sitting beside his bedside, like touching his bed, and she just sits there and she's just like, yeah, well, now you know that this is a possibility, so you can find out early and you can abort anyone that is, you know, like him. And I was like, okay.
And you're like, alrighty then.
I was like, and this conversation's over. She also asked if Elijah and I were cousins. And
no, she did not.
Yeah. She was like, are you guys cousins? And I was like,
Wait, she knew you, like,
Ew.
that you were the parents.
yes.
While asking that.
Yes.
Did she think, like, that you messed?
That we were the, like, it was like because of incest. Because a lot of, like, mutations come from, like,
You don't ask that. That's
yes.
crazy.
Oh, no, absolutely. I was like,
Like,
this is
she
so-
asked you that.
Yes, she said, is there any way that you guys are related, like cousins? And I was like, no. I was like, first of all, my father is very extensive with his family. My father-in-law is very extensive with his family tree. And so, like, when we were dating, it wasn't because we wanted to make sure we weren't cousins. We knew we weren't cousins. But, like, we were just, like, looking at the family tree. And there's not, like, a single way that we're related except for way back in Abraham.
Like,
I don't know.
We're all related.
Yes.
Adam and Eve.
We all come from...
Crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was...
So she needs to work on her bedside manner in
Absolutely.
a really big way.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
Because I'm like, I understand everyone has a different opinion.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the world that we live, that's a very common idea for people. They're like, oh, you know, I'm just going to get rid of this baby if they're not perfect because there's such a horribleness like that the devil has just manipulated so many people to think that if you're not like 100% perfect, you don't deserve to be here, which is stupid because no one's perfect and will never be perfect. So I'm like, everyone is just like having their own definition of like what is good enough to keep around. And so I was like, I have to like remind myself that not everyone is a Christian, not everyone has the same opinions and stuff. And so like in her mind, like that was no big deal. But I will still say like work on how you word things.
Yeah.
I would have personally said, now you know that this is a possibility. So if you have future pregnancies, you can get tested early to be able to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like same idea.
Yes.
Different feeling.
Yes, absolutely. Because just to go, so you can abort them if they're like this. I'm like, because she like made that like, obviously if any of my other children had hypophosphatasia and I found out early enough, like I could just abort them. And I'm like, I look back and I'm like, Lucas is literally like, yes, he has struggles and there's hard days, but this kid loves life.
Yeah.
He is a happy kid. He touches so many hearts. And I'm like, to think of the fact like people out there think I should have aborted him are nuts. And his first pediatrician didn't know I was pregnant with Sam because that was obviously very soon, also told me that I should abort any other babies that had hypophosphatasia. And then I had some doctors tell me I just should never get pregnant again unless it was like through IVF where they could like test everything beforehand. So, yeah.
That's like overstepping to the max.
Oh, absolutely.
That's nuts.
I'm like, there's
insane.
a way to inform parents and to give parents all the options that are out there. Like I said, we all have different opinions.
Totally.
So I'm like, absolutely. I think that we should give all the information. I think that people should be informed, but there is definitely a way to do it. And telling someone they should abort their kid because it's not their standard of how a baby should be is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so was there something that someone said that you were just like, thank you for saying that? Everybody should say that.
That's a harder one.
Yeah.
I think it's because, like, the ones that are bad, like, they sting and they stick with you.
Yeah, you think about it forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even though I wish, like, I only thought of good things, I don't. And so I'm like, it's harder definitely to think of that. Because I know that somebody said something great.
Totally.
I know that somebody said something encouraging.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what was that? But I know that, like, people just would be like, hey, I'm here for you. Like, we're praying for him. And just being like, basically I think just being like, God's in control. Like, you don't have to listen to what the doctors say kind of deal. And I wish I could pinpoint like a certain person that said something encouraging, because I know they might listen to this and be like, oh, Hannah, I said this to you.
If you said something nice to Hannah,
but I will
text
say
us.
like, especially in that 6 month at the NICU, I don't remember a lot. Like, I went back and like read through, I had this like little NICU journal where like they had at the NICU where you could like write down his stats for that day, what medications they gave him, if he got a bath, who visited, and stuff like that. And so like I would write little notes in it, and I went through and read it even like this year, and I was like, oh, I forgot that happened. I forgot like that was done, and like, oh, I forgot they came and visited us in the hospital. And it's not because I like wasn't grateful. I just had a lot going on where my mind...
in survival mode.
I was in survival mode. I was in shock. I was just, like, trying to get through.
Yeah.
And on it, like, I was not, like... I wasn't living in the moment, like, oh, yes, like, we're going to take every, opportunity to be happy and like make the most of this day. It was like some days I'm literally like just sitting there by the bedside, like I would zone out for hours and just sit there. And I'm like, but there's not a lot you can do with a baby that's in a NICU bed, especially when you aren't supposed to move them much because of their bones.
Yeah.
So I wish I could think of like a specific thing, but I can't at this moment. I just know that people are just like, hey, like God's in control and he's watching over you, and
I feel like you probably felt like a lot of love through action too, and maybe not necessarily words, but just
absolutely. Like, people showing up. I mean, the family that took us in, I mean, I felt love from them every day. Right. And she was constantly encouraging. And I loved her so much. She is such a talker, which is exactly what I needed, because I would get home from the NICU and I'm feeling a little down. And so I wouldn't, like, have a lot to say. Like, she would ask me how Lucas was doing. I'd give her, the updates from the day. And then she would talk about anything and everything and just take my mind off of it. And, like, that was honestly such a help, because I was able to just sit there and not have to say a bunch. Like, she wasn't expecting to have a bunch of conversations. She was just there to keep me company. And, like, and that was great. And yeah, I enjoyed that, and that meant a lot.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this can go in or not.
Okay.
I'm sure you look back a lot, just like being grateful for certain things or like wishing other things could be different. Mm-hmm. Are you thankful that Lucas was your first, because you were able to drop everything and like go be there every day?
Absolutely.
Like is that a miracle, or like
100%? I could not, like, we've had to be in the hospital here and there with sicknesses, and like his longest stay was 31 days after being out of the NICU.
That's a long time.
And I had 2 kids at that point.
Yeah.
So that was a struggle.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine being 6 months in the NICU, and the kids wouldn't have been allowed in the NICU. Like, when he's been in the hospital since then, they're allowed to come in as visitors into whatever room we're in. Yeah. So that definitely helps. But yeah, back then they wouldn't have been able to come. So that would have been so difficult. And I watched a lot of parents going through that. Like, their kid was in the NICU and they also had a kid that wasn't in the NICU and lived like 2, 3, 4 hours away. And so, yeah, I'm very, very thankful that Lucas was my first, to where I could literally drop life and just focus on him. And I think that if it would have been like my second or third, that definitely would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
And definitely more of a struggle, because even when we spend 20 or 30 days in the hospital now, like, it is a struggle, especially when Sam was a baby and we were in the NICU for like, or not NICU, but in the hospital. I think we were in there for like 3 weeks that time. And it was during like RSV flu season, so he wasn't allowed to come. Mm-mm. So I had to go 3 weeks without seeing my 6-month-old baby.
Oh my gosh.
And I was sick, like horribly sick. And so I was like, I can't go home and be with him, because I didn't want him to get sick. Like, I didn't know whether I had RSV or like what I had, because I didn't know that adults can get RSV too.
Yeah.
But so I was like, as much as I didn't want to not see him for those 3 weeks, I knew that it was better on his health for me not to be with him.
Yeah.
And so like after that, I think he was like 6 months old. All of them run together, but once I saw him, like, I just cried, because I was just like, I hadn't seen him in 3 weeks. But so that was really hard. So I'm like, I can't imagine doing 6 months like that. Like,
yeah,
you just miss 6 months of your other children's lives, basically. I mean, we definitely obviously would have like made it work. And I mean, I know for a fact Mary Ellen would have been like, leave them with me and I'll take care of them. And so like, I would have like come home to them at the end of the night. It probably would have felt like I was like working a job, and like I was, coming home at the end of the night and like leaving in the morning, and they would stay there. But it definitely would have been hard. Obviously, I know that God would have gotten us through it, but I am very thankful that he was our first.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. That's
So what was it like, though, from going from like having your first baby and like that being your first experience having a kid, being Lucas and like being in the NICU, to then having Sam, and you go have a baby and you bring him home?
You just like go home real quick.
Yeah, you just go home 2 days later.
Like, what was that like?
It was very weird. Sam, so I had him C-section as well.
Yeah.
And they brought him to me once I got in my room, and I was like trying to like figure out how to nurse because I wasn't able to nurse Lucas and stuff. And so the lactation consultant was in there with me, and I looked at him and I was like, something is wrong. He is not breathing the way he should be breathing. And she was like, oh, there is. And they put him on a CPAP machine because he had fluid in his lungs. And what's crazy is if I had not been in the hospital with Lucas and knew what to look for, I wouldn't have noticed. I would have just been like, oh, like this is normal and stuff. So because I was able to catch that so quickly, he was just on the CPAP overnight and then was fine the next day.
Holy crap.
And so like that was different because obviously like I wouldn't have known like, oh, like because I'd seen lots of different videos. Like I looked up, medically complex children breathing different things with lung issues and stuff. And even though like Lucas had a trach, or he was intubated for 2 months and then got a trach, but so like they would teach us like if he's breathing like this, like retracting, like this isn't good, we want him to like breathe like this and stuff. And so when I saw Sam, who doesn't have a trach and isn't intubated, retracting, I was like, this isn't right. Like I was like, you need to go get a nurse right now. And she did. And they were like, oh, you're right. He has fluid in his lungs. And I was like, that's right. That's right. And then like, but yeah. And so like, that was like a little bit of like worry, I think, tried to come in right there because I was like, oh my gosh, he has fluid in his lungs. I'd never had a baby that wasn't immediately put into the NICU. And so I was like, is this going to turn out to be something worse?
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, he's good. And then we went home the next day and I was like, okay.
And no issues from then on.
No, he's been great.
Just had some fluid.
Wild.
He's like classic second kid.
Yes, absolutely. Great. So when we brought Sam home, honestly, like that first few like weeks to months, I was just like I was very emotional because I was like, this is what I missed out on.
Yeah.
With Lucas. And I did not contemplate suicide, but I definitely fell into postpartum depression. And that's when like everything rushed back from Lucas and Sam, because I would just like every day, like Sam would do something and I'm like, and this is what I missed out on. Like in nursing Sam, I was like, and this is what I missed out on with Lucas. And it was very much like I had to change the way I thought. And I was like, I am like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm so thankful that I get to do this with Sam. And he has a different story than Lucas has. And Ray has a different story than both of them have. And I'm like, to just focus on the good things and not be like, because I can't change anything of the past. So I'm like, to dwell on it is not going to do any good. And I'm like, yes, I didn't get those things with Lucas. But what I had to do was I had to grieve. I hadn't grieved the fact that I didn't get the births that I wanted with Sam or Lucas. And I didn't get the first time home moments with Lucas, and I had to grieve that and let myself just feel all of those feelings. And because I had gone through like depression and stuff back in my teenage years / early adulthood, I was able to like, no, this is not of God. I have a way to fight this. God is on my side. I got into the Word and prayed and focused on Him. When your eyes are focused on the Lord, then you're not focused on everything that's going on around you. And so I was able to combat like that depression that was trying to come on me and be like, no, this isn't my depression. This is like, this is to God. Like I give it to Him and I'm not going to go through this again. And so I was able to get through it. But that was like the hard part about having a kid that didn't immediately go into the NICU and stay there for 6 months. Like I got to bring him home and it was like, oh, this is so exciting. And then it was just like a constant reminder that I didn't get that.
Yeah.
We can't change the past. We can just, grow from it and learn from it and know that we're in different seasons and it's going to be okay, I guess. I don't know.
My final question.
Yes.
So I feel like mom life is like, it's a lot of being in survival mode. Like, it just is.
Absolutely.
So kind of like on our little path here from like survival to like healing and, managing life, like how are you feeling? Where are you at now? Like with everything you've gone through.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you at on our little spectrum here of like survival to healing?
So I mean, I'm definitely like still in the healing stages. I think there's like, obviously, like you said, survival mode for moms, like in general.
Yes.
I think like when we got home from the NICU, I think is when I finally like felt less in survival mode.
Yeah.
And like started the healing process. And it's still ongoing. And it probably will forever just like be constantly like healing, because he does, still go through things. Yeah, so it's like I still feel like I'm healing through it all. But now, it's less survival and more like, I don't know, more fighter. Like whenever he goes through things, like I have like a fight that rises up inside where I'm like, I know where my hope is found. I know like the foundation I stand upon. And so I'm able to just be like, no, I'm not going to be in fear and I'm not going to worry, because I know who holds the answers and I know who's in control. And that doesn't mean that I am like, well, God's in control, so he's obviously going to fix the situation the way I want it to. That's not what that means. It means that however the situation unfolds, that God is still on my side and he's going to give me the strength and the peace and the comfort to get through it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't, because how old are you now? I feel like you're still young enough that it's fine. She's 27. Like you've lived a lot of life for 27.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fact that like you're such a happy human being and like you're willing to share your story and like let us ask you questions, like I think so many people have so much to learn from you. So thank you for being willing to share, because I've never heard of that before. And so you coming to like educate is amazing.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Anytime you want.
Oh, yeah. I think that's one thing is I get told all the time, like, you're such a happy person. Like if I was in your situation, I don't think I would be happy. Like one of the things where people say things that are right, they're like, I don't know how you do it. I don't think I could have made it. And I'm like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah, like you didn't have
what's
a choice.
your other option?
No, I didn't have the strength to do it. Like nobody is born with the strength to go through this. Mm-hmm. That's why we have a savior. That's why, that's why we pray, is to get the strength to go through it. And so, now when people are like, you're just so happy, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, it's not because of me. It's because of God.
Yeah.
One of the big things lately is I say I have the joy of the Lord, which is not, I don't know if you've heard this psalm. I think it's called Joy of the Lord, but it talks about how it's not just a feeling, and like the joy of the Lord can be with you even through the hard times. And it doesn't mean that you always have a smile on your face, but you're always like, I can find joy in every situation because I'm here. I'm alive.
Yeah.
God's alive, and we're going to get through this and stuff. So whenever somebody's like, you just seem so joyful, I'm like, because I have God. That's the only reason. If I didn't have him, I would not have made it through this the same way. And unfortunately, I see a lot of divorce with medical complex parents.
Yeah. I was going to ask. I was like, I'm sure, like...
there's only one that I met in NICU. There's only one that are still together.
Wow.
And their son was like very mild compared to a lot of the other ones. But if you don't have a strong foundation or any foundation at all on Christ, like it's going to be a lot harder to get through those things. And unfortunately, a lot of people just end up, broken, don't know how to make it.
Yeah.
Really. Like they're just, I think a lot of people are still just like in a survival mode because they don't have any healing from what they went through, because they don't know that God can take away that pain and heal them from what they've gone through.
Yeah. Okay, well, I feel like we could just literally sit here and chat all day long.
Yes.
This has been so good.
You're amazing.
Really enjoyed this.
You guys are amazing.
No, literally, this has been the best. And
thank you.
You are really good at speaking, and you have really good words to share. And I'm sure so many people relate to you. So this has been...
I've never heard before.
Relatable.
This has been so good. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're enjoying Lighthearted, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us reach more people who need a little more light in their lives.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram at LightHeartedPod to stay up to date with our episodes and to share your own stories with us. We love it. We love when you send us things, so please keep those coming. We would love to have you join us over on TikTok as well. We have a ton of fun over there, so please join us there. That is at LightHeartedPod. Everything we've talked about will be linked below.
Along with our merch. We have merch, so that'll be linked below.
We have merch. Check it out.
And don't forget, it's okay to not feel lighthearted. This podcast was recorded on Buzzsprout in West Virginia.